This is very exciting. I had no idea many years ago when I had a vision that we would have something permanent on campus, that it would come to fruition in this beautiful and wonderful way. My name is Elaine Leader. I am the Dean of the School of Social Sciences, and this all began 26 years ago with the founding of the Center for the Study of the Holocaust, with some faculty members, including Dr. John Steiner, who is present here today, who founded this organization. And since then, we have gone on for 26 years educating about the Holocaust. And within the last 5 years, we have added other genocides because, unfortunately, there is now a field called comparative genocides. And so since that time, as a result, one day several years ago, the Alliance for the Study of the Holocaust organized a very fabulous reunion for Holocaust survivors, and that took place in Katahdin in the fall of 2006. When that was over, I was sitting in my home one day thinking, we need something permanent because the survivors are passing on now, and we need to honor their memories. And so I happened to have in my house that evening a friend of mine by the name of David Salm, and he said to me, "Oh, I think I could help you with that." Little did I know that that meant financially. And it was with his help and with my idea that we approached Jan Nunn, the sculptor who has this fabulous sculpture, who you will meet very soon. So since that time, we have been able to bring together wonderful communities to make this all possible. You have been drummed in by the Red Nation Brotherhood Singers and Dance Group, and the reason that we started with them, because theirs was the first genocide on this land. And we have also, as a result, reached out to many different communities. And there are people here who I need to honor and appreciate for the connections to those communities. First of all, I need to thank Brenda Flies with Hawks, who is with us today, and I will introduce her soon because she will be a speaker, but she was the liaison to the Native American community. Christine Davidian of North Bay Armenians, who's over here, is broad Armenian community, and as many as 40% of the bricks, I'm pleased to say, belong to the Armenian community. We also had liaisons with connections with other communities. Mathilde Muktabana, who I believe is here. Mathilde, are you here yet? I hope so. Anyway, she's coming, and I'm thrilled that she's here with the connections to the communities. Also, the other members of the community, and it belongs to FORA, which is Friends of Rwandan Association. And if Pichmoni Chakim is here, Pichmoni, are you here? Oh, she isn't. Well, she's the liaison with the Cambodian community. And so we've been honored to have those connections, and that's why you see bricks here from all of those organizations. So at this time, I would like very much to introduce our president, President Ruben Erna, who will welcome you for the campus, and we'll go on from there. Thank you.
Well, good afternoon to all of you, and welcome to the campus of Sonoma State University. We are delighted to have you here on this beautiful afternoon. Spring is in the air, and the trees are blooming, which always is part of that rejuvenation of our life, so that no matter how horrible things we do, we re-alive every so often, every year in the spring, and I think that's very, very important. As the leader told you, and she was a bit humble in her dealings about herself. She really has been the dynamo behind this idea and this monument and this remembrance. And I want to very much acknowledge her great there are a lot of people have great ideas. It requires the tenacity, somebody stubbornness to get things done, and she did, and she was able to put all the pieces together. But this is very much, as she mentioned you before, in the tradition that Sonoma State has had in studying Holocaust, and most recently expanded not just to the Jewish Holocaust, but to also genocide and Holocaust of other groups. And this was started 26 years ago by a survivor of the Holocaust, Professor John Steiner, who has been a great scholar and great promoter of the studies, and I want to thank you, Professor Steiner, for it. This remembrance, the Erna and Arthur Salm remembrance and sculpture, really has this very central idea of honoring those thousands, millions of individuals throughout our history, fairly recent history, to be very honest, in many cases. 200 years, 300 years is pretty short time. We have had great destruction of human life, not because of what those people did, but who they were. That was the only things that they did wrong, is who they were, and that's not wrong. And for that, they suffered the ultimate sacrifice, and millions have died in the hands of others. But bringing together this wonderful sculpture and grove, memorial grove, to honor them, has really been an enormous amount of work and collaboration with both campus and off-campus organizations, private donors, local business, the art department of Sonoma State University, the science department, and very much our own facility staff. And our head of the staff, Chris Dino, had put enormous amount of time, energy, and ingenuity to get this done, and I want to thank him, others, on behalf of all the university and the facilities department. I have been here a number of times while this was being erected, and I have to tell you that it's a labor of love for our facilities department. I know Jeff Falconer spent here many more hours than he ever will acknowledge in doing that, and we thank you for that. And indeed, the artistic promoter, the creator of this, is our own Professor Jan Nunn, who has worked innumerable hours. I think she has probably I'm sure, Senator Leno, that we have violated every minimum wage law by the time of hours and energies that she has put there. I saw her making every single one of those pieces of glass by hand with the help of some of her students. I think her hourly wages went like about 20 cents, which is slave wages. And indeed, part of this beauty was that it was done also by the contribution of our students, who not only work at it, but learn about it. One of the problems with things that happens in the past, no matter how short that past is, that we tend to forget. And this was a way for them to learn and to remember. And I'm delighted that this genocide memorial grove, the Erna and Arthur Salm grove, is really on this campus and honors those who perish for who they were. I welcome, and I'm delighted that you're here. Thank you.
little bit about the order of the program. The order is we're doing this chronologically, and there will a spiritual component by the various representative groups, but then there will also be a cultural component, because as much as those who tried to kill off the groups that are represented, they were not able to do so, and we have survived and we have thrived. And so this is not a sad day, but a day to honor the survival of many groups of people who have fought back and are culturally rich and deep in their heritage. And in reflection of that, I would actually ask all of you who are survivors or children of survivors of the various genocides, would you please stand so we can honor you? It always brings tears to my eyes. I too am a daughter of a survivor. My family's bricks are in there. The Schneersons, who died in Kupashok, Lithuania, the Topins, who died in Ostrog, and the Malenbaums. So I am honored to have you all here to honor all of our families. I'd like now to introduce Senator Mark Leno, who was elected to the state senate in 2008 and represents the 3rd District, which includes Marin, Park, Santo, and Sonoma County. He served 6 years in the State Assembly, 4.5 years in the San Francisco Board of Supervisors. He's from Wisconsin and actually attended rabbinical school too. He's dedicated to community service. He's got a 100% voting record from the Sierra Club, the Friends of the Earth, the California League of Conservation, and we are very proud that he represents us in Sacramento. Senator Leno.
Good afternoon, everybody. What a pleasure it is to be with you at this magnificent moment on this beautiful lake on a day that doesn't get any better. How poignant the counterpoint that we are memorializing survivors of Holocaust and genocides on probably a Earth-perfect day. Ambassador, Mr. President, Dean Leader, thank you for allowing me to share a few words and thoughts with you. I was reading in some of the notes I had that the amazing sculpture behind me is inscribed with one of my favorite quotes from Dr. Martin Luther King, that our lives begin to end the day we become silent about things that matter. It reminded me of Elie Wiesel in his book, Night. He says, to remain silent and indifferent is the greatest sin of all. So that we should gather today and hear from our very diverse group of voices so that we can remember, so that we do not forget, and so we never let such things continue, though we know the challenge is always great and that enormous is being experienced as we have this ceremony today. In the legislature each year on Yom HaShoah, the day of remembrance of the Nazi Holocaust, we do a ceremony. We invite survivors to come to the Capitol, and we have a survivor speak to us. And each of my elected colleagues have the opportunity from both parties to stand and express their heartfelt concern for the survivors, for the suffering, and to take pride in who we are as Californians and Americans, that we would never allow such a thing to happen in our country. And I have to always remind my colleagues that Holocaust and genocides don't happen in a vacuum. They are the result, they are the product of concerted and systemic discrimination and denigration of a disliked minority people. it comes from that systemic discrimination that we lead ourselves to holocausts and genocides. In Germany, for example, Germans didn't wake up one day and Jews being trained to gas chambers. No. In fact, not a single law was broken in Germany. The laws were changed to allow for the Holocaust to happen. So first, a law was passed that limited who Jews could marry. Then laws were passed that said Jews could not own property. And then another law was passed that said Jews could not own businesses. And step by step, laws changed so that the Holocaust could occur. You know, it's as recently as 1964 when California voters went to the polls to overturn the Rumford Act. The Rumford Act was written by the first African-American Northern Californian to serve in the California State Assembly. And he authored the first fair housing bill in the United States, preceding the Civil Rights Act of 1964. And what the Rumford did was, for the first time, prohibit landlords and property owners from discriminating on the basis of race. It was a wild concept back in 1963, heavily debated in the state legislature. And Californians were so outraged by the passage of the Rumford Act that though only 450,000 signatures were necessary to place an overturning of it on the ballot, which became Proposition 12 in 1960, that 1 million signatures were gathered in a matter of months, and 65% of Californians voted to overturn the Rumford Act. Candidate for governor at that time, Ronald Reagan, said that he believed it was appropriate to give legal allowance for landlords and property owners to, in his word, discriminate against Negroes if they choose to. This was fashionable in 1964. 65% of Californians agreed with Ronald Reagan on this issue. Of course, it was overturned by the California Supreme Court and subsequently by the United States Supreme Court on the basis of equal protection under the law. Our Equal Protection Clause in our Constitution states that no citizen or class of citizens shall be granted any privilege or immunity not granted to all citizens on the same terms. So the voters could not have their say because it was unconstitutional. And then I remind my colleagues that just this past November, 52% of Californians decided that only certain law-abiding, tax-paying Californians should be able to marry the person he or she loves. This is now being deliberated in the California Supreme Court. So I just think it's important for us to stop every once in a while. We may each have our own religious points of view, but the genius of our constitutional democracy is that we afford everyone their First Amendment constitutional right to freedom of religion. But we don't let any one interpretation of any one holy book become state law. That's what separates us from so many other civilizations. And it's a very delicate balance. We know it's a very delicate balance. And isn't it sadly ironic that we spend billions of dollars every month fighting wars around the world to prevent religious extremists to have their beliefs put into state law, though it could be happening in our own backyard. So I just want to thank Sonoma State for your extraordinary leadership for these many years in reminding us that if we are not ever vigilant, it could in fact happen here. Thank you very much. I'm here to conduct some business. I have a resolution from the California State Legislature signed by my colleague, Assemblyman Jared Huffman, and by me, recognizing the beauty and the wonder of the Erna and Arthur Salm Holocaust and Genocide Memorial Grove, and I want to personally thank David for your extraordinary philanthropy in allowing today to take place. And Dean Leader, to whom shall I present this? David, would you like to come up?
Thank you, Mark.
My pleasure. My pleasure. Someone's got a camera here.
I'm sure they're
One second.
Thank you.
Come on, we got a photo op. There's a photo op.
Thank you, Mark.
All right, my pleasure.
Thanks for being here. Thanks for all you do. Okay. Thanks for having me here.
A couple of more things I need to say. We're going to keep the speakers to 5 minutes. I have the hook. It says 1 minute left, please wrap it up, and thank you, that's all we have time for. So, because it's a hot day and I want you to stay because it's a very beautiful event we have inside. We have a reception that we'd love for you to attend. The other thing that we have for you is there are still 140 spots open for bricks. Should you want spots, Barbara Lesh McCaffrey and the Alliance for the Study of the Holocaust will have brick order forms inside. We also will have a representative. Is Mr. Abakar in the audience? Mr. Abakar? You're here, good, all right, that's a relief. We have a representative from Darfur, and we want very much to speak about the Darfur situation, and also should any of you want to donate to Darfur, we have envelopes inside should you want to donate. Because yes, our genocides are over, but there's still one going on, and he's going to speak of it because he's from Darfur himself. All right, at this time, and we are going to keep to the 5 minutes, so all the speakers do understand. I'm sorry if I'm tough, but I am. I'd like to invite David Salm to come to the podium, as well as Jan Nunn. Here she is.
President Armignana, Dean Leader, distinguished guests. This project was launched by a few on a budget of hope and promise. Facing insufficient financial resources and with no public subsidies available, we became entirely dependent upon the private sector for funding. It is a curious thing about those who endow memorials. We last not just for a long time, but for an eternity. Therefore, this monument needed to be built with the highest quality materials available, first to withstand the test of time, and also to ensure that the aesthetics would attract visitors and scholars alike. The business community responded in untold ways that mattered. Because of their sense of civic purpose and generosity, we are able to dedicate this installation today. Their involvement has stated unequivocally that we must put an end to the insanity side. I would like to recognize all who have extended themselves, and I'm going to cite just a few. Fisher Tile, Friedman's Home Improvement, Park Avenue Turf, Redwood Glass, Shamrock Materials, Union Pacific, Vader Powder Coating, Van Bever Brothers. Importantly for me, this project has brought together some of the finest and most decent people I have ever worked with. Elaine Leader, the ideal impresario. She has been the visionary and force behind this project. She has been a tireless fundraiser, a steady hand on the tiller, the one who envisioned this memorial, and she has also been my mentor. Christopher Dino. He and his crew at Facilities Management have contributed to this project in constant and immeasurable ways. Without that team, led by John Champy, whose name was mysteriously erased from today's program, we would never have made it beyond the theoretical. Professor of Sculpture Jan Nunn has given the passion of her life to turn this concept into a reality. Jan has designed this installation, she fabricated it, she lost sleep over it, and she inspired everyone who worked on it. Jan is an artist, an engineer, a consummate organizer, and an inspirational and tenacious leader. Each and every one of the men and women who contributed to this memorial had their own reasons for doing so. They were a vital link in an unbroken chain of support and commitment. Some wrote checks, others donated material. There were those who laid stones, spoke to the media, moved railroad tracks, placed bricks, operated a crane, welded steel, landscaped, installed wiring, built forms, and poured concrete. All were driven by his or her own intentions. Each had their own story, their personal understanding of the message behind this memorial. All who contributed know that this is not just made up of atoms, molecules, and matter. Each brick bears witness to the human condition in a world made up not just of atoms, but of stories. And each of the bricks represents a personal history, another story. Stories of the human element, of the many who outwitted evil, and the far too many who were trampled by it. And finally, Ruben Armiñana and the leadership at Sonoma State. They have provided us with this venue and have created on this campus an environment where of tolerance and enlightenment are nurtured and encouraged, being as much a beacon of light as the tower that now stands behind me.
Years ago, when Elaine Leader approached me to discuss the idea of designing a Holocaust and genocide memorial for Sonoma State, I was immediately interested. Elaine stated she wanted a place of contemplation where she and I come to pay tribute to their family members and loved ones who were murdered or whose lives were victimized by the horrors of genocide. Elaine made a few simple requests. One, that it would incorporate bricks bearing names and places, and two, that it be modest in scale. I went to work immediately, and after 4 months of research and negotiation and drawing and dreaming, I arrived at my final proposal, and that's the sculpture you see before you today. I'm not particularly known for making modest sculpture. So when I presented my proposal to Elaine and the small committee that she had formed, they had tears in their eyes. From that point forward, Elaine, David, and Christopher Deno did everything possible to ensure that this monument would be built. Thank you, Elaine, and David, and Christopher, for giving her of building this monument. But this monument could not have been built without the incredible outpouring of support from so many, not only from the campus community, from President Ruben Armiñana, down to the groundskeeping crew, but from the community at large with all their in-kind donations of material and labor. But I especially want to thank Sonoma State University sculpture students and alumni who collectively have spent untold hours working with me in the studio over the past 2 years while I was fabricating the sculpture. And I believe everybody is here today, and I would like for the students and alumni to please stand or recognize yourself when I call your name. I'd like to acknowledge Leslie Lowell, Alyssa Poland, Diana Meehan, Greg Looney, Nick Harris, Megan Hillard, Brooke Johnson, Linus Lancaster, Catherine Daly, Matt Mullins, Logan Stocksdale, Tamara DiPaolo, and Rodney DeVos. Thank you all of you for your hand in this. Your unselfish efforts have helped make this a lasting reality and one that you should be proud of for many years to come. Most of all, however, I want to acknowledge John Scott Forrester, sculpture technician at Sonoma State. John Scott has been with me every step of the way when I've needed him from anything from engineering consultation to fabricating and milling a special part for the installation of the glass tower. His exceptional talent, his knowledge, his commitment to this project has been nothing short of stunning. Thank you, John Scott. And finally, I want to thank Marjorie Heinrich, my amazing partner, for her loving support and understanding during my many trying times and long, long absences away from home as I was fabricating this monument. Thank you. Thank you everyone. This could not have been possible without a tremendous group effort. Thank you very much.
She almost got the hook, too. There are a number of people I have not yet acknowledged who I really would like to acknowledge. I really need to thank the Sonoma State Alumni Association and Cynthia Stringer, who has given us enormous support. If Cynthia's here, thank you very much. Where are you? Thank you very much. Also, I really would like to thank once again the facilities people, Christopher John Champy, who we left off the program inadvertently. So sorry, John. And also to Jeff Falconer, for whom this was his own little baby, his project. Thank you, Jeff. Also, there are a number of elected officials in the audience besides Mark Leno, and I wonder if you don't, because we've invited people from Santa Rosa and the environs and local regions. So if you're here, please, would you stand? Thanks. Okay. I guess not as many as I thought. I'm glad you're here. And also, I appreciate Provost Ochoa and all the deans who've supported me through all of this time, because it's been a little stressful, as you might assume. Also, my staff, I need to thank particularly Sophia LaRosa, who orchestrated this whole event. She really was remarkable. And my office assistant, Holly Sautner, who's also been extremely helpful. As well as Jim Ford and Barbara Butler and Vicki Bailey as generous and wonderful donors. Thank you very much. You'll also, I hope, come down and take a look at the sign because it has other details on it that you need to take a peek at. Now we're going to get into the sort of the program part. The thank yous are over, and now we'll move into, and by the way, you all, I guess we're out of seats and we're out of programs. There was a turnout greater than we expected, and I'm really honored that you all chose to spend this gorgeous day with us. Thanks for coming. So I would like to first introduce the representative from the Native American community. This is Brenda Flies with Hawks. She's from the Tsalagi Cherokee Nation, from the Bird Clan, Qualla Boundary Reservation, Cherokee, North Carolina. She's a professor of psychology at Santa Rosa Junior College, a board member of County Indian Health, a single mom of a 16-year-old, an aunt and a great auntie to 15 nieces and nephews, and she walks the red road and follows the traditional Native way of life. So let us introduce Brenda Flies with Hawks.
Osio blashlatikwa, hetiata na moete, hekianada wahapete, nishneki leader, nishnede mete, ikwa katye. Hello and good afternoon, and thank you very much, Dean Leader. Always asking me to call her Elaine, but it just doesn't seem right. But we appreciate the opportunity to be here, Indigenous people. I want to thank David as well, who extended his hand out to me to ask to be here, and also Jan Nunn. And what I want to say is that I'm not here to try to speak for all Native people. I couldn't. And I'm not here to try to represent them. Instead, I'm here to stand in for all of us, Indigenous people, from the Americas, from Canada all the way down to the tip of South America, and particularly for our Indigenous people here that we now call the United States of America. I want to thank my brothers and sisters in Drummed. When you were coming in, that was a welcoming for you to come. Thank you. Gilson Eagle Star is the head drummer. And I thank them for that prayer song. This is a day we should not have to be here, but it is a day that we must be here. It is a day that we must remember. And as Native people, we will never forget, and we know that the reason we are not invisible today, and that we are here, is because of the bones of our ancestors that walked before us and never gave up, and even when they were told that they did not exist, stood up from their very grave and said that we do exist. And so now you see me and my other brothers and sisters walking around, and we're thankful to be here. This is a wonderful spot that was chosen for this memorial because the water surrounds it here, and the water is sacred to our people. The trees are our relationship, and the fact that there is a grove of trees speaks to our people. Our Mother Earth holds us, and our Father Sky looks over us. And surely all of our people's spirits that came before us must have been present in Jan when she labored over this memorial. Because all that she has created speaks people in the materials that she selected and in the image that her spirit came forth with. Because for us, it is a symbol of a glass tree that comes up out of the ground. We believe that we speak to all of our relations, and surely this image, this memorial, speaks to us for what it stands for. So, for all of our people, all of our grandmothers, all of our aunties and all of our uncles, all of our traditional leaders and people that came before us, we thank you, Jan, and we thank you, Elaine, for the medicine that you will leave here for all of us to be remembered forever.
Drummers and singers with the head drummer and singer, Gilson Eagle Star of the Lakota Nation. Thank you very much. Well, now we're going to honor those of Armenian heritage. Many of you know that Hitler once said, "Who remembers the Armenians?" which gave mission to do what he did. Well, we remember the Armenians, and so we are honored today to have 3 priests from the Armenian church and then some very, very moving Armenian music. First priest is Archpriest Father Sakis Patoyan of the St. John Armenian Apostolic Church in San Francisco. He served in this capacity for 11 years. He's from LA, studied in Armenia, has a Master in Divinity from Armenia, gave up his career as a bank manager to become a seminarian. Then we have Reverend Father Barat Yer Etzian, I hope I'm right, who serves as the Cathedral Construction Special Assistant to the Primate of the Western Diocese of the Armenian Church of North America, and the Very Reverend Father Batev Galumian, who serves within the Western Prelacy. He's the co-director of the Christian Education Department and instructor for the Religious Studies and Day School, oversees programs for all the youth. He studied in Lebanon, where he received his degree in theology, and he conducts Armenian choirs, as well as having studied theology in Italy. I'm very honored to introduce our Armenian bishops and priests. Thank you.
Mr. President, Dean Leader, Mr. Ambassador, distinguished guest, the son of a survivor of the Armenian genocide, and today I feel survivor also for the Holocaust, for the Cambodian genocide, Rwandan, Darfur, Cambodian, I said, and many others that's going around in the world. And I am very thankful that you invited us today to be with you in this special occasion. To stand united with our brothers and sisters, those who share with us a common legacy of responsibility, to remember those who were lost, taken from this world to their ethnicity or faith. We also share a common responsibility to vocal defenders of human rights and to speak out when a people are suffering. On behalf of the Primate of the Western Diocese, His Eminence Archbishop Hovland Dederian, and all Armenian Americans, we wholeheartedly congratulate the efforts of the California State University of Sonoma for dedicating this truly unique monument, which affirms our firmly held belief that at all times we must not only fervently educate the youth regarding the tragedies of the past, but also turn a hopeful and faithful eye to the future, believing that our efforts will result in a better, more peaceful tomorrow when genocide would never blight humanity again. Հոգվոցն լոս Քրիստոս ասված զրանքիսե ողորմություն եւ մեզ մեղավորած շնորհյա ըստողություն հանցանած
Դեր ողորմյա Քրիստոս որդի Աստուծո անոխագալ եւ բարեկուտ կթա քո արարչական սիրովթի հոգի սանկուցյալ զարայցկոց հիշյա դեր մանավանդ ըզ հոգիսն արավել քան 1.5 միլիոն հադագացնասկի սայոց որ անգան իցերն ցեղասպան Թուրքիո հնդածս մեծ բادرազմին եւ համայն աշխարհի եւ մարդկության հիշյա որ մեծիկալստյան արքայության քո Արարժանի ողորմության, կավության և թողության մեղած Թասավորյալ բայձարացոն սուրպս կոհաչագոմյան թասուն Զիթու ես դեր և արարիչ ամենեցուն թադավոր գենթանյաց եմերելոց և կեզ վայել է պարկ իշխանություն և բադիվ այժմ և միշտ և ավիդյանս հավիդենից Amen.
Dear civic leaders and fellow mourners, on behalf of a grateful Armenian community, please allow me to express, however inadequate, my words of appreciation for the extraordinary thoughtfulness of including in the Erna and Arthur Salm Holocaust Genocide Memorial Grove a remembrance of the first genocide of the last century. It was, after all, an immeasurably brutal century in which countless millions were victims of man's inhumanity to man, a century in which the word genocide was created out of necessity, a century in which genocide, the deliberate and systematic extermination of a nation or racial group, with the Ottoman Turkish government in 1915, with an executed, organized, planned, systematic campaign to kill all Armenians from the planet Earth. All this happened while newspaper reports covered the events, accounts which can be read in back issues of the London Daily Times, the New York Times, and other periodicals. All this happened while U.S. Ambassador to Turkey Robert Morgenthau reported it to the American State Department. All this happened while the world watched and did not care. All this happened while 19 members of my family, everyone but my grandfather, were killed. The moments today are too few just to share even one eyewitness account of the brutality. It is enough to say, almost without exception. Every Armenian today has lost a relative in the Turkish genocide. Every Armenian today has lost land property because of the Turkish genocide. Every single Armenian today awaits for the yet still to be delivered admission of guilt, reparations, and return of the lost lands. On behalf of a grateful Armenian community, I wish to thank those who have the courage and sensitivity to acknowledge the Armenian genocide in this memorial. It means, despite our overwhelming and immeasurable gratitude for this memorial, my heart is overshadowed only by our wish that the U.S. State Department would match your courage. To date, more than 90 years since the documented, thank you. To date, more than 90 years since the documented accounts of the Turkish atrocities against the innocent Armenian population have been made public. Documentation has been acknowledged by historians worldwide. The U.S. government has failed to this day to even acknowledge the genocide for what it is. Civilized and conscientious citizens, Armenian and otherwise, are closely watching our newly elected President Barack Obama as he travels shortly to Ankara, Turkey. He campaigned on the promise that he would lead the United States in recognizing the genocide. We wait to learn if this was sincere or just talk. In the first book of the Bible, in Genesis, we read, "Let us make man in our own image according to our likeness." We come to understand in Orthodox Church that this means simply we have something in common with our Creator, which animals of the forest and fish of the sea do not. We have been made in His image. We can understand who God is and what He expects of us. We, humankind, can understand that there is a God, that He loves us, and that He expects us to love Him. How? By loving His creation, loving one another. This is our calling as children of God. And this is exactly what we are witnessing today with the dedication of this very stirring monument, which brings to reality the cruelty of man's inhumanity to man. We are called to remember, we are called to react, we are called to prevent, we are called to make this world a better place. This memorial we dedicate today does all of this on behalf of a grateful Armenian community. Thank you.
Almighty God, we render our praises to you for this day as we have come together for the opening of the Sonoma State University Holocaust and Genocide Memorial Grove in honor of the millions of innocents who have fallen victim to inhuman and genocidal acts. As we pay homage and tribute to the loving memory of our victims, we humbly bow before you in supplications for the blessed repose of their souls and for your perpetual light to shine upon them for eternity. We beseech you to illuminate our path, grant us strength and inspire us to go forward and to not falter in our commitments. Grace us with courage, wisdom, and foresight to accomplish goals and fulfill our noble mission. Lastly, grant us the spiritual renewal to help us meet and overcome new challenges and to reach our crowning point. In the name of the Father, and the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Amen.
And now I would like to introduce Armenian musician. Kachik is an accomplished Armenian singer-musician. He's performed all over the United States and Canada. He has his own unique style and plays keyboards and percussion. He has 3 albums of Armenian music, and we're lucky that he's local. He lives in San Francisco. Kachik.
Գոդորած նամքուտ հայերը թողնան անաբա դարձավ Şükeradan Garanu sura Yevan khishtanan Ruben yatsduna Akharin veran Garanu sura Yevan khishtanan Ruben yatsduna Akharin veran Chansav Uhayot Schegjer Engan Seridag Hujani Naher Jameru Debrot Echkoran Vinavor Hayer Anchanameran Jamerud brot, potimech goram, vinavor hayer, anchanameram. Barabe avach harustadanan mochire haker habar giriyan ermiyain hacene sirun miçuçi şajvir Abarar zeytun Gangun ermiyain Hacene sirun Minçuşi şarjvir Abarar zeytun
Well, they've landed. The ducks take over, so let them know it's time to go back to the water if they come to visit you. I also realize there's two people I have failed to honor, and I need to do so. I need to thank Barbara Lesh McCaffrey and the Alliance for the Study of the Holocaust for all that they have done for the program at Sonoma State University and all they've done for selling the bricks. So first, also to the Alliance and Barbara Lesh McCaffrey, please. And I also need to honor Myrna Goodman, who is now the director for the Center for the Study of the Holocaust and Genocide. Myrna, wherever she is. Oh, there she is, good. Myrna is the illustrious leader of our program. We have fabulous lecture series. If you have not attended, you really must, because it's an opportunity to really hear about cutting-edge research related to Holocaust-cide. Now I'd like to introduce representatives from the Pacific War and Asia. This is a forgotten genocide. I'm going to introduce Peter Stanek, who is the president of the Global Alliance for Preserving the History of World War II in Asia. He leads his community in its mission to secure a formal acknowledgement and an apology from the government of Japan for the war crimes and atrocities committed by the Japanese Imperial Army in Asia. Also with him is Susan Shea, the chair of the Rape of Nanking Redress Coalition. She is a community organizer and an activist, and in the background and singing for us will be the Redwood Empire Chinese Association, who will sing a song to commemorate the start of the Pacific War. I'd like to have both of you. Thank you.
Thank you very much. The Pacific War, World War II in the Pacific, began in September 18th, 1931, when the Japanese Imperial Army attacked the Chinese in Manchuria. There followed unimaginable suffering, homes, families destroyed, people with nowhere to go. In memory of that event, the chorus sings the lament, "My dear home, Mom, Dad, when can we be together again?"
我的家在东北松花江上，那里有森林美花，那有那漫山遍野的大豆高粱。我的家在东北松花江上，那里有我的同胞，还有那衰老的爹娘。就一把，就一把，从那个退散的时候，就一把，从那个悲惨的时候，我离了我的家乡，抛弃了无尽的保障，流浪，流浪，人只在关内流浪，那年那月才能够回到我那开的故乡。那年那月才能够收回我那无尽宝藏。月亮啊，月亮啊，什么时候才能聚在一堂？
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm very humbled to be here today amongst you all who are dedicated to peace and reconciliation. The rape of Nanjing occurred November 13, 1937 to January 31, 1938. It is considered one of the worst periods of civilian atrocities committed during World War II in Asia. In a matter of 6 weeks, 300,000 people were tortured and brutally murdered. 80,000 women and girls were raped. Marauding Japanese soldiers burned and looted every farm and house they encountered, sowing destruction in their wake. The rape of Nanjing is but one part, albeit a painful part, of the atrocities committed by the Japanese army during World War II. The full story is much worse. Here, today, we mourn for the victims, pray for those who are left behind, and vow to never forget their stories.
The Japanese Imperial Army, the rulers of Japan, taught that all non-Japanese Asians were inferior. It did not matter what you did to them. Between 1931 and 1945, the Japanese Imperial Army plundered Asia, stealing, killing, without regard to human life or dignity. 30 million unarmed civilians died in these tragic events, some bayoneted for practice by the Japanese Imperial Army. 500,000 young girls and young women kidnapped by the Japanese Imperial Army to serve as their sex slaves. Since 1945, the Japanese government has ignored this history and denied any of these war crimes. This is our challenge, to expose this history, to somehow bring peace together again, and to solve these wounds created by this war. Today we gather to mourn the victims, to bring comfort to the survivors and families, to learn these, to demand justice and human rights for all who suffer in Holocaust and genocide. I'd especially like to thank several who have made the trip here today, Professors Ying Ying and Xiaojin Chang, the parents of the late Iris Chang, the Honorable Julie Tang of the San Francisco Judiciary, the leaders and supporters of the Marin Chinese Cultural Association, and Empire Chinese Association, the Global Alliance, and the Rape of Nanking Redress Coalition. Thank you.
Now we move on to the Holocaust. I'm very pleased to introduce, for representative, as if one can represent a whole people, but I'd like to introduce Rabbi George Schlesinger. He has served Congregation Beth Ami Santa Rosa for the last 8 years. He also served in congregations in LA, Anaheim, and Marlborough, New Jersey. He has created and participated in Holocaust remembrance programs for over 30 years, and he is committed to preserving the memory of those who perished in the Holocaust and takes seriously the Jewish mantra, never again, by spearheading his congregation's efforts to end the genocide in Darfur. I give you Rabbi George Schlesinger.
In just 10 days, the Jews around the world will sit at our Passover Seder tables and recount the Exodus from Egypt. Like countless generations before us, we will instruct our children and we will tell them, this is what the Lord did for me when I went out of Egypt. The story of our liberation from Egypt with tales of those who resisted evil. There were the midwives, Shifra and Puah, who defied Pharaoh and refused to murder the Jewish male babies. And according to the Midrash, the legends of the rabbis, they did far more than merely fulfill their duty as midwives. They also saw to it that the newly born children of the poor families would be sustained by collecting food from the houses of the rich women and bringing it to those poor Jewish families. Moses' sister Miriam, even as a little child, credited with an act of resistance. Again, according to the Midrash, when her father Amram heard that all new male babies would be doomed to extermination, he said, "Why should we have more children only to see them slaughtered?" In order to set an example for all Jews to follow, he therefore publicly divorced his wife. Subsequently, all the Jewish men did so as well. But his little daughter Miriam argues with him. Your decision is harsher than that of the king, she says. Pharaoh's law affects only male children. You are preventing the birth of both boys and girls. Pharaoh may deprive them of their bodies, but their souls will live on in the Olam Haba, the world to come. You, however, prevent their souls from entering the world at all. Moreover, I am sure that Pharaoh's edict will soon be withdrawn, while your decree will endure. Amram acknowledged the force of her argument and very publicly remarried Yocheved, and all the Israelites followed suit. This is himself, who slew the Egyptian taskmaster even at the peril of his own standing in the Pharaoh's court, and because he was then forced to flee, he was present to protect and defend Jethro's daughters from the other shepherds at the well in Midian. Even the preparation of the very first Seder was an act of defiance and resistance. According to our tradition, the first Passover ever was on a Wednesday night, just as it will be this year. The 10th day of that month of Nisan was therefore a Saturday, a Shabbat, just as this year. God had commanded Moses to tell the people that on the 10th day of the month, they were to take a lamb and get it ready for the Passover sacrifice to take place 4 days later. But the lamb was a sacred animal to the Egyptians. Preparing the lamb and slaughtering it might well have brought down the wrath of the Egyptians. In spite of the threat, the Israelites followed the commandment, giving rise to the appellation of Shabbat Hagadol, the Great Sabbath, the name given to the Sabbath before Passover, when the Jews defied the Egyptians. So according to him, we distinguished ourselves in Egypt and merited a miraculous intervention of God. But we also read at the Passover Seder, Shalo echad bilvad amad aleinu l'chalotenu, ela shebachol dor vador omdim aleinu l'chalotenu. For more than one enemy has arisen to destroy us. In every generation, in every age, some rise to plot our annihilation. We know this only too well. But whereas the Haggadah, the Passover book, says, but a divine power sustains in us, we are here today to say that it is not enough to rely on divine power. We must resist evil ourselves. We have in the past, we will continue to do so in the future. We learn this also from the story of Esther and Mordechai and our holiday of Purim. When Esther expressed reluctance to visit King Achashverosh without having been summoned to defend her people, her uncle Mordechai said to her, "Do not imagine that you, of all Jews, will escape with your life by being in the king's palace. On the contrary, keep silent in this crisis. Relief and deliverance will come to the Jews from another quarter, while you and your father's house will perish." Mordechai knew that survival often means self-defense. We must not depend solely upon others or even God to resist evil. It is our responsibility to resist wherever we can and in whatever way we can. For if we do not, we will then pay heed to what Elie Wiesel has said. Some are guilty, but all responsible. We are here today to dedicate this Holocaust and Genocide Memorial Grove, a memorial to those victims of genocide who died in Europe, on this continent, in Armenia, in Southeast Asia, and in Africa and elsewhere. But it must also serve as a beacon of hope and encouragement for us to resist evil and genocide wherever it rears its ugly head and in whatever way we can. There are those who resist evil because they have nothing to lose, and there are those who resist despite having everything to lose. We are here this afternoon to remember those who died and those who have resisted in the past, and to refortify ourselves in the determination never to forget and never to give up in our struggle to resist evil is found. Ken Yehi Ratzon, so may it be God's will.
Now we're going to have some traditional Yiddish music. The Harmonious Schwesters came together for this event, but they will be going on, I'm sure. Lori Leah Lippin and Gail Kissen. Leah is a klezmer musician, played with the band The Red Hot Tchotchkes. Gail is a Yiddish folk singer, and they have teamed up in this new Yiddish duo with legitimate roots in Yiddishkeit, the Harmonious Schwesters.
We'll do two songs. Jeder ruft mich Jamala. Call me Jamala. This is a little-known song from the Holocaust, told from the point of view of a young girl who has lost her mother, her father who raised her, her sister, Estelle, and her brother, killed by a Nazi. She's lost her home. She says to God, Gott, du guck von Himmel, you down from heaven on your blooms being cut. Jeder ruft mich Jamala. My name is Jamala, and life is hard for me. Jeder ruft mich Jamala. Die Meer ist schwer. Hat gehad am Amele, hat sie schon nicht mehr. Hat gehad hat mir gehit. Jetzt bin ich a Schmale, weil ich bin hat gehad as Schwester, ist sie mehr nicht da. Ach, wo bist du, Esther, in der schwere Schau? Geht Bäume, geht Bleit, wippt mein Bruder Schleimel von a Deutsch geteilt. Hab gehad a Himmel, jetzt ist mir schlecht. Und wie aber Himmel, was der Talien schlägt. Gott, du guck von Himmel auf der Erde ab. Sehr nur wie dein Glimmele schneidet Talien ab. Jeder ruft mich Jamele, wie mir ist schwer. Thank you. We are the Harmonia Schwesters. We are Schwesters, sisters. The Yiddish word for accordion is harmonia, and we are here in harmony with all of you. We're going to sing a song that is the kind of the Yiddish riddle song. It's kind of the I Gave My Love a Cherry song, only it's Yiddish. And you probably know this one. And we're doing it hoping that you'll know it from now on. My beloved, juicy Yiddish. It's wonderful to share it with you.
And it's a celebration.
Yes, this is the celebration part. Steht Woche, steht Nacht und verganze Nacht. Nehmen zu nehmen zu nehmen und mit Verstehen. Tumbala, 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 like tumbala, 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 like tumbala,
listening. Well, that brought tears to my eyes. My mother used to sing that to me. Well, now we move on, and honored, very honored, because we are now going to honor the Cambodian community from the Pol Pot regime. And I've met a very wonderful Cambodian monk from the Santa Rosa Cambodian Buddhist temple, Venerable Masarin Vusadea. He's the chief monk in Santa Rosa, and he just arrived from Southern California by way of Lynn, Massachusetts, where I used to live and where I was brought up. So we had a lot in common when we met. He left Cambodia during the atrocities after being incarcerated by Pol Pot. He lived in Thailand for many years. Then he received his degree, his bachelor's degree from CSU Northridge, so he's a CSU alum. He has a master's degree in theology from a Thai university, and he's a true scholar, a poet, a truly delightful and a very deeply spiritual man. And I'm very honored to introduce you to Venerable.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, according to we have a short time, the time is limited, so we don't need to talk much. We have the group of praying. We have two groups, praying and dancing. Thank you very much. Alien told everybody about in Cambodia situation, because Cambodia had civil war many years, from 1970 till 1993. Okay, come on. This is Mr. Chanto. Mr. President may know him well. Okay, come. Quickly. Chocolate. Chocolate. I'm sorry. I can speak Thai language, Thai, Lao, Cambodian. There's three languages. English, some French, some Chinese, Vietnamese, but we don't have time to explain here. So I'm over here. Most Cambodians believe that praying is a good thing. The result from morality meditation can share each other even though they pass away. So now I train. I had the small group, but they are children. We train. They are trained just 2-3 weeks, so they can pray 5 or 7 minutes. I'm not sure because David gave me just 5 minutes. So okay, let's okay, start together. Hold your hand, please. Arahang Samma Sambuddho Bhagavia Buddhang Bhagavantang Abhiviyademi Swakhato Bhagavata Dhammo Dhammang Sami Supatipanno Bhagavato Sāvaka Saṅkho Saṅkhaṃ Namīyami Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato Sambuddhassa. Iti piso bhagavia arahang samma sambuddho vecchia charana sampanno sukha lokavitu anuttaro purisa dhammasarati sattha dewa manusanang Tho Bhagya Tang Arahati Kunna Sang Yut Tang Put Thang Serasa Namia Mitang Cha Put ทังอิเมหิสักการะอภิปุจะเยมิสวากขาโตภะคะวะตาธัมโมสันติเอเกาอากาเลเกาเอหิปัสสิเกาเอาปนายิเกาปัจตังเวทัปปุวิญญูไหเตสวาคาตาติกุณสังยุตตังธรรมยังเสรสานะเมียมิตังจะธรรมยังอิเมหิสังเรหิอภิปุจะเยมิสุปเดปโนภะคะวะสาวกสังโฆอุจุปเดปันโนภะคะวะโตสาวกสังโฆญะปเดปันโนภะคะวะโตสาวกสังโฆสามัยเจปเดปันภะคะวะโตสาวกสังโฆยะติตังจัตตาริปุริสยุกิยานิอัตถะปุริสปกะเลียเอสะภะคะวะโตสาวกสังโฆอาหุนายโยปาหุนายโยเตเกนายโยอาลิกรณายโยอนุตตรังปุญญเขตโลกัสสะเตตังสุปฏิปันนาติกุณสังยุตตังสังฆังเสรสานะเมียมิตังจะสังฆังเอเมหิสังการเรหิอภิปุจะเยมิสัพเพสัตตาอเวริยสุขาจีวิโนกตังปุญญังพลังไมหังสัพเพพิยกีภวันตุเต May all beings be well, happy and peaceful, free from enmity and suffering. Whatever merits we have done, may the merits be shared by all. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Amen. Thank you.
We're moving now into a dance performance from the Cambodian community. We have Mrs. Shamnan Renz and Mrs. Kim Chea. Mrs. Renz was born in Cambodia in 1979, 3 years into the Civil War. Her father was a survivor of the genocide and a folk dance instructor. Between 1975 and 1979, 90% of all classical Cambodian dancers and artists were killed, so that these folks who are here today are preserving their culture by continuing the mission. Mrs. Ren studied in Cambodia starting at 9 years old and has performed in France and Cambodia and now with us. Mrs. Chea was born during the Pol Pot regime and emigrated in 1985 to the US after being in a refugee camp in Thailand and also living in the Philippines. Her father died because of lack of medical care during the Pol Pot regime, and she lost her aunt and her aunt's entire family because they were an educated family. Mrs. Chea has been dancing since 2001, and she has children, and I'm honored to have our Cambodian classical dancers.
រងក្បាច់ខ្មែរព្រមទាំងសាក់សៀនមានលាជួយឈប់ត្រង់មានតួត្រង់ណាព្រមតាមរបៀបក្បាច់ខែមរាពីបុរាណទុកជារបាំមិនស្រយ៉ាងចំណានគ្រាន់តែការកំសាន្តនៅពេលខ្លះសានមិនប្រកបប្រាននឹងគ្រាដែរ យើងថែរក្សាទ្រព្យនេះជាប់ជាទំនៀមទម្លាប់ដើម្បីសាយសំណាក់គុណដែលគេតែងសរសើ
I hope you're all as moved by the dancing and the music and the culture as I am. Every one of them brings tears to my eyes. It's very, very beautiful. All of it with more to come. And do stay with us. We're moving into the home stretch and everything is more meaningful and touching. So now we're going to honor the events that took place in Rwanda. We used to call it the genocide of the Tutsis, only I've recently been to the moderate Hutus were also assassinated and murdered during this regime, during the regime that took place in Rwanda. So this is, I'm very pleased that we're now going to have our keynote speaker, who is the permanent representative from Rwanda to the United Nations, Professor Joseph Sengimana. And he's had been the special advisor of the President of the Republic of Rwanda since 2000. Before that, he was the Minister of Education, Scientific Research, and Culture for his country. He was also the Minister of Public Service and Labor, the Minister of Lands, Human Resettlement, and Environmental Protection, a manager of several companies. Before that, he was an academic as an associate professor at the National University of Rwanda. He has a PhD from comparative literature from the University of Limoges in France with distinction. And more than all of that as it relates to us, he lost his own family during the regime of the Tutsis and the moderate Hutus. So I am really very, very honored for someone who I've gotten to know briefly, but very respectfully, Professor, please.
Good afternoon, everybody. President Ruben Aminiana, Dean Ellen Leader, Professor Yan Nan, Rwandan community, ladies and gentlemen. It's a great honor and privilege for me to have a role in this dedication and celebration of the Erna and Salm Holocaust and Genocide Memorial Group. As a survivor of the 1994 genocide of the Tutsi of Rwanda, I feel very humbled and delighted to stand in here for more than 1 million Rwandans slaughtered in 100 days, starting on April 7, 1994, as well as the survival of that genocide. This lasting memorial to the Holocaust and genocide in Europe, Asia, Africa, America is an occasion for all survivors from all over the world to celebrate today. I want to thank from my heart Professor Ellen Leader for giving me this honor. I thank Professor Leader, Ms. David Salm, Professor Nunn, and all the persons who had a role in the realization of this memorial grove. You made an important contribution to the memory of the victims of the Holocaust and the genocides. Honoring the members of your own families, you have as well achieved a common duty as survivors, honoring victims from our families and our victims of the Holocaust and genocide all over the world. We congratulate you. We congratulate all of you. Never again, what does it mean? Is it the international community historical pledge after the Holocaust? Yes, of course. Then, how do we explain the genocide of the Tutsi of Rwanda in 1994? My opinion is that we, as survivors, are the main actors to realizing the very meaning of never again. To survive should be a responsibility to ensure that the never again is a reality for ourselves, our community, and for the entire humanity. To survive means to fight the genocide and his ideology. Allow me to illustrate what I mean by using the case of Rwanda, my country. Abandoned by the international community in 1994, it took Rwandans themselves, especially those who were regrouped in the Rwandan Patriotic Front, as many members were targeted by the genocide, to stop the genocide of Tutsi in Rwanda. Therefore, to survive is first not to accept the law of the killers, not to take it as a fate, but on the contrary, to fight for your collective survival. This struggle is permanent as long as the evil exists. To survive means to rebuild his own life, as well as the life of the community or the nation after the disaster. After any genocide, the survivors are very weak, traumatized. They are exasperated by the loss. Members of the family, property, hope in the future. They feel somehow guilty for the death of their beloved ones. They can't answer the haunting question, why am I still alive and not my wife, my children? It is then the time to stand up, work hard, and struggle for a better life. We need to keep always in mind that our weaknesses reinforce the génocidaire. Last but not least, to survive means bridging gaps and building new relationships to eventually reconcile our wounded society. The hate which generated the genocide has to be reduced and replaced by peace and normal relations between human beings. The survivor has a central role to play for this shift to happen and lead to never again. To survive remains, even after rebuilding peace and reconciliation, keeping the memory. A community without memory is condemned to repeat the same error, says an African proverb. This Holocaust and the Genocide Memorial Grove responds objective. Thank you for your attention.
I'm really honored that he came all the way from New York City to be speaking to us today. Thank you very much. And now I'm really honored because we have a Rwandan cultural group called Abahoza. And they were organized several years ago at Konzumas River College, founded by Mathilde Mukabadabana. I always say it wrong, sorry. Member of the and other members of the Friends of the Rwandan Cultural Group. They do traditional dances of Rwanda because they are trying to perform in order to keep the connection to motherland Rwanda alive. Say her name, Mukdaban, thank you, who is our liaison to the Rwandans. She's from Sacramento and a member of the Alliance. Thank you, Mathilde, for bringing everyone from the Rwandan group. On that note now, we're moving to the close of our program, and I would like to introduce someone who is representing the Darfur community. Mr. Abdul Abakar is a Sudanese asylee from Darfur. He left his village in Single-Tubi in March 2003. He belongs to the Zaghawa tribe, who are nomads and live in the north of Darfur. Their family moved south due to severe drought in their region. He graduated from Durham University, has a post-grad degree in translation from Khartoum University in Sudan, and is working on his MAE in curriculum development at CSU Monterey Bay. He plans to return to Darfur to help his people as soon as he possibly can. And I think it's very important as we move to the close of this program that we remember the people who are now suffering the way our families did, so that we will do something about Darfur. Mr. Care, please.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'd like to take this opportunity to extend my gratitude to Professor Leader and the President of the University, Mr. David, and his ambassador, Mr. And to all of you who successfully made it here today to mourn our loved ones, the victims of Holocaust, the genocide. Nothing could express what I feel, nothing I can use to communicate the level and the extent of the suffering of the people of Darfur. We are here today to mourn and to pay homage and tribute to those victims, but also to renew our commitment that we will stand united. We will work collectively and jointly to prevent that kind of genocide from happening again, whatever the cause might be. We are here today, as you know, from the media, you might have read or watched what is going on in Darfur since 2003. Thanks to every one of you here to help to express your support to the people of Darfur. And as you know, ICC has legally indicted the president of Sudan. United Nations, although what is going on in Darfur is the first genocide in the 21st century, but that incident, that tragedy and those atrocities prove that UN is still irrelevant to the suffering of mankind at the global level. We are here today. We demonstrated a unique universal brotherhood, solidarity, unity, and also I request and appeal to any one of you as popular ambassadors of peace around the globe to work together, to put our effort together, and to prevent any form of genocide. As you know, recently, the regime in Khartoum expelled 13 NGOs who established the unique lifeline to help those internally displaced people, the refugees in the camps. Not only so, 2 or 3 days ago, you might have heard or read or watched the news that those guys are routing weapons to other organizations in other countries to kill innocent people. We need governments, organizations, national organizations, UN specialized agencies, grassroots organizations to work together to help the people of Darfur and also to double their pressure in the international community, especially the 5 permanent members of the Security Council, to take whatever measures necessary to bring those people who masterminded, financed, trained those people who perpetrated those brutalities, atrocities against the innocent people of Darfur. Thank you for inviting me to speak here. I will remain committed to the cause and work with you for the betterment of mankind and our family. Thank you once again.
And I will remind you there's an opportunity for inside if you'd like to give us some funds. And also we have some bracelets. I don't know whatever happened to them. They're green bracelets that say Save Darfur. They'll be inside. So please come in and take a Save Darfur bracelet as well. Now we're going to wrap it up, and the way that we're wrapping it up is with a sense of hope, not despair. The dancing, the culture, all gives us hope. The children we've seen, And I've chosen today a senior from Sonoma State University who is an immigrant herself, El Salvador. Her name is Ileana Barillas.
The Cure of Troy by Seamus Haney. Human beings suffer. They torture one another. They get hurt and get hard. No poem or play or song can fully right a wrong, inflicted or endured. The innocent in jail beat on their bars together. A hunger striker's father stands in the graveyard dumb. The police widow in bales faints at the funeral home. History says hope on this side of the grave, but then once in a lifetime, the long for a tidal wave of justice can raise up, and history and hope rhyme. So hope for a great sea change on the far side of revenge. Believe that a further shore is reachable from here. Believe in miracles and cures and healing wells. Call the miracle self-healing, the utter self-revealing. Double take of feeling if there's a fire on the mountain or lightning and storm, and a God speaks from the sky. That means someone is the outcry and the birth cry of a new life at its term.
Well, that concludes our program, and now we'd like you very much to join us. First of all, to thank everyone who was part of the program, and all of you for attending and buying bricks. And now please join us in the Commons, where we're going to have a reception as well as some music. So please attend. We'd love to have you come.